Hello everyone, I'm here today to do a comparison, in-depth review and analysis of a new candle, or somewhat new candle, as well as sort of an historical overview of similar scents from Bath & Body Works Slatkin Co. candles from the past couple of years. Most of you will recognize most of these candles here, aside from the lone test scent you see on the upper right called Island Sand. So just to give a quick overview of the three, we've got Beachside, which was released in 2010. That came out sort of late in the summer in a trio of candles. It was Beachside, let's see, what were the three? Beachside, Mango Cilantro, and Coconut Leaves. So it was sort of, in my opinion, some of the best summer releases from candles. Beachside, I love it. I'll get more in depth with the notes and what I sniff from it in a bit. Generally, I'll talk about the release, the marketing, the success, and then we'll get into sort of sniffing and comparing these candles that are all somewhat similar in, at least in theme, if not exact notes. So Beachside, it was a candle that not a lot of people seem to love. Obviously, it was only out the one year, the one season, and it never came back, unfortunately. For the most part, it was plagued with low burn and drowning wick problems. Mine started out that way, the 1 3-wick I had of it, but it was one of the candles where I let it burn for probably 8 or 10 hours and it eventually corrected itself. I generally don't like to burn candles that long because it's just not recommended to do that, and also it tends to turn the wax, the pooled wax, either dark, or it can make the scent go a little bit off just because the oils have been heated for such a long period of time. There basically is a reason why they say generally not to allow candles to burn more than 3 to 4 hours at a time. So, anyhow, it did correct itself, and it ended up being a great candle for me. I know a lot of people, had trouble with it and just didn't stick with it. So, and then, unfortunately, it did not come out the next year in 2011. In 2011, I picked up this Slatkin Co. Island Sand candle, and this was released in test stores. And in fact, it may have been, I can't remember exactly. It may have been that this came out, I think it was 2011, early 2011. It might have been a semi-annual sale from a late 2010 release, not exactly sure. I was thinking that maybe Beachside and Island Sand were tested at the same time, and then Beachside is what went wide. But from what I can remember, Island Sand was from 2011. In test stores only, did not go wide. And then, of course, from 2012, what you see in the bottom left here, White Sand from the massively popular Boardwalk collection. I really enjoyed this one. It was great. It seemed to be fairly popular, along with, in my opinion, the top three from the original Boardwalk collection there was, of course, White Sand, Beach Cabana, and Summer Boardwalk. Those were the super must-haves for me. It did not come back this year, which kind of bummed me out because much of the Boardwalk collection from 2012 did find its way into the collections this year, even though there was not an official Boardwalk collection. You had Beach Cabana and Suntan come back as Poolside. You had Seashore come back as Renew and Refresh. Beach Grass didn't make it, but that wasn't necessarily a must-have, nor did Saltwater Taffy or Root Beer Float, but the ones that were really great for the most part did come back. White Sand did not, unfortunately, which kind of bummed me out because I really loved it. For me, it was the closest thing I could get to Beachside, without being Beachside. But we did see in late 2012, and then of course now again in summer 2013, the Me In Tahiti White Sands and Vanilla Flower candle, which, while definitely not a repackage of White Sand, which I wouldn't have minded again, it is quite similar. It seems to be a mix of White Sand with a few other things added to it, which we'll get to more in depth here. And of course, the Me In Tahiti candle is out now with London Calling, Paris Daydream, Rio Glow. Let's see, I believe there are 6 in that collection. It's Me In Tahiti, Paris Daydream, London Calling, Aloha Waikiki, Sea to Santorini, and Rio Glow. Malibu Heat was in the test collection, but it did not release wide, or is not releasing wide in the next couple of weeks here. So I guess again, this is nothing super new. Most folks will have smelled most of these candles. This is for the folks who kind of like the retrospective, a little bit in-depth history of the releases and the marketing and all of that with the Bath & Body Works Slatkin Co. candles. So with that said, let's dive right into notes and sniffs. So first up, my favorite of the bunch Beachside. And it's just, sort of the original kind of Slatkin Co packaging. Beachside reads as a lush, delicate blend of orange blossom, exotic ylang-ylang, and white musk. Now, for a beachy candle, that is, a lot of sort of heaviness. Ylang-ylang is sort of a sensual and somewhat heavy scent. It's used in, I believe it was in some of the aromatherapy sensual collections for a while there. I don't think it is anymore, but it's a nice, somewhat floral perfume, more perfumey sort of fragrance. Orange blossom is great. I really love a fresh orange blossom note. Even more so than a true orange or juiciness. I love orange blossoms. Reminds me somewhat a little bit of the Mandarin Blossom Italian soap that's out now. I believe that has orange blossom in it. And then white musk. Musk can go good or bad. In this case, a light white musk just adds a nice sort of richness to it, almost sort of for lack of a better word, like a wealthiness or sort of a decadence. Maybe decadence is a better word, to the scent, like you're at some, beachside resort. And so sniffing this is just a single wick. I found it sort of at a lone semi-annual sale a few years back, and I haven't had the heart to burn it yet just because I love the scent so much that I'm hoping they'll, come back with it randomly some year, maybe name something else. But Beachside, for some folks would be turned off and say it's too floral, or I'm sorry, too, perfumey with the musk and the ylang-ylang. But for me, it was one of those scents where when I first smelled it, I thought I didn't like it, and then something just clicked where I started loving it. It is somewhat heavy. It's for folks who haven't smelled it. To me, it's similar to white sand, but even more than that. I would say it's closer to, say, gosh, it's good. Closer to, say, what is it? Like a beach cabana. So it's got sort of the powdery, sort of, musky, powdery, white, bright scent. A little bit of a heavier thing than just, a floral or a fruit or something like that to make it summery and beachy. But really just like a beachside resort. I first sniffed it and thought maybe it smelled a little bit like grandma's guest soap. Like if you have, when I was young and visiting relatives in Florida, sort of like the guest soaps that are shaped like, seahorses and shells that don't really get used, that are just kind of a cheap, old-fashioned hand soap. You've got hints of sort of that feeling, but it's just done so nicely that it's not cloying or heavy or gross. I just really, really love this scent. And then, again, that was 2010. 2011, I believe, this scent was in test stores, and I did burn it a little bit when I first got it, but I liked it and didn't want to use it all up. So it's Island Sand. It's got a nice, shell on it there. And the notes on this one are: escape to the beach with a blend of tiara flower, summer jasmine, and coconut milk layered with neroli petals. So tiara flower, I don't know a lot about that. I believe it's just generally a sort of tropical sweet flower in a lot of their sort of summery candles. Summer jasmine, I assume we're just talking, standard sweet jasmine. Coconut milk, always, for me, always welcome addition to scents. I like it more than a toasted coconut or a standard sort of island coconut. It's definitely going to be creamy, a little bit sweet, but not overly coconutty, not overly sweet. And finally, neroli petals. Neroli is it's similar to an orange blossom or a bergamot, where it is the blossom or flower from, I believe, from the bitter orange tree, something like that. And so that it tends to be similar to your orange blossom notes or your almost a little bit of bergamot, kind of a slightly metallic, little bit of a citrus, but a florally citrus. And smelling this one compared to, say, Beachside, it's really, I love it. Island Sand, good stuff. It is more creamy. Beachside is the ylang-ylang in the Beachside makes it, again, more towards sort of a conceptual, fragrance that's more of a true blend that is a conceptual idea, whereas the Island Sand, of course, neither of them smell like a beach or sand. It's what we, thoughts and scents that evoke the feeling of those things. Now, Island Sand is a little bit more legitimately beachy because of the coconut milk primarily. Again, they're both somewhat floral, but they're more, because they're orange blossom and they're neroli petals, they're not your typical floral. They're a tropical floral without that being their main note. And when it's an orange blossom or neroli petals, it does bring in something else that is outside of your standard floral, because it is there's still that depth of citrus to that. So I really liked Island Sand. Comparing the two, Beachside was, I liked it a little bit more. It had a little more intensity with the ylang ylang and the musk in the Beachside, but both really stellar scents. And so then fast forward to 2012, and we had the Boardwalk collection come out, and started in the test store, and I purchased it first in a test store. And then seeing White Sand, the notes on that were and are, like the first long days of summer at the beach, sparkling grapefruit and sandalwood with coconut milk and summer jasmine. Now White Sand, Island Sand, you sniff it, and it turns out Island Sand came back as White Sand. So that's, I think, sort of a little known fact, not that, most people care, but to any of the, collectors or enthusiasts of the Slatkin, Bath & Body Works White Barn candles, Island Sand, it sort of is interesting to me. It shows you what their, the test scents and marketing, how it works, that, Island Sand, they tested it 1 year, didn't work as it was, but then they did bring it back. So it does show you that they do reuse failed test scents, or they repackage things with different marketing and see how they'll work. And White Sand ended up being a fairly popular addition last year in the Boardwalk collection. And again, what is also interesting to me is we learn a little bit more about the actual fragrance, because this mentions, it hasn't been reformulated, but this mentions that it has grapefruit, sandalwood, coconut milk, and jasmine, in addition to the tiare flower and neroli petals. So it really shows you it's a very well-rounded scent, and I love, you really you don't smell the grapefruit strongly like you would imagine. Grapefruit normally would be a fairly strong, kind of overwhelming fragrance or note in a scent. But it is there. It just really brings out, it's like a bright, really, really sunny beach day. And I love it. I love White Sand. I've got a couple of those. When they went on clearance at some annual sale, I really stocked up, and I'm glad, because unfortunately it did not come back. Fast forward again to late 2012, and now again in mid-2013, and we've got Meet Me in Tahiti as part of their Destinations collection. Now, overall Destinations collection, I think it's a little strange. When the original idea of cities around the world was rumored back in late last year, it seemed kind of cool that there would be a scent that is Morocco, and there's Paris, and there was New York, and all these different places. But it kind of, a lot of them were repackages. I didn't like the New York candle. It was weird, golden amber with an apple, and also that really had nothing to do with New York. That was, again, that was just saying, what can we say? Sounds like it could be New York. Whereas this one is a little bit more, I've never been to Tahiti. I don't know if, all of these notes that are in the Tahiti candle, are in Tahiti, if they're, native plants and flowers to Tahiti. But, it's a nice idea, I suppose. And so this one came out, and again, the fall collection, it was London Calling, Meet Me Tahiti, Paris Daydream, Moroccan Market, New York, and there was one other, the Caribbean Escape, which is just ridiculous, because, Caribbean Escape has been around in sort of every collection for the past couple of years for the summer collections. Now, Meet Me in Tahiti, they note it as White Sands and Vanilla Flower, and the notes on the bottom are, they don't tell us much, which it bums me out, because they've got lots of space, they could give us a lot of notes, but they just say, the lush fragrance of Tahitian petals, Manoi blossoms, and vanilla, let's run away to paradise. So again, they're really telling us so little with this, which I don't appreciate that. But I really, really enjoy it. I bought it in December, and I bought two of them, and I just finally am burning the other one now. Now, to me, this is White Sand, definitely reformulated. I believe it's probably White Sand mixed with, I want to say, from the 2012 Spring-Summer collection called Aloha Vanilla, I believe it was, which was a very, very drippingly sweet, somewhat floral vanilla. Creamy, but a sweet floral, not a sweet sugar, sweet floral. and I didn't purchase it. I didn't love it. It mixes well with the notes in the white sand, and I do like this. It's an okay replacement for white sand, but the more I compare them, they really are fairly different. You know, they've got, I think, a lot of the same base notes are shared between white sand and the white sand and vanilla flower. But comparing them, if anyone is interested, trying to get a little more lighting here. It's getting a little cloudy, so I apologize if it's getting a little dark here. Whereas white sand is truly, to me, kind of beachy. You've got a very sort of legitimate orange blossom. You've got the neroli petals, so it's got the sweet floral. You've got that little bit of grapefruit and the coconut. You're missing some of that sort of authentic, fragrant note in Me In Tahiti, whereas Me In Tahiti is very heavy on the vanilla flower and the sweetness. It's very drippingly, kind of cloyingly sweet. Again, it's a sweetness. I can't really tell if it's a creamy sweetness or a floral sweetness. I suppose there may still be a bit of coconut mixed in there, like a coconut milk base, but it's missing sort of the neroli grapefruit edge that white sand had. Something that was not astringent, but it just was a little more clean. Whereas the Me In Tahiti is a little bit more of a lush, sweet, florally type of fragrance. So it's just not quite as, I guess clean is the best word. Yeah, like this one has, you know, this one almost seems more exotic to me because it's got some exotic florals, but Me In Tahiti, that vanilla, I like it because it's sweet and it's kind of cool. In temperature to me, but it's hard to get past that vanilla or vanilla flower, whatever Tahitian vanilla is in there, is very overwhelming, almost too overwhelming, but not horrible. So again, it seems to be sort of the replacement for white sand. Not my favorite, but good. So again, just not much else to go on here. Just overall, you see the history of sort of their, summery, I suppose, exotic florals for their beach scents. Beachside, Island Sand, White Sand, and Me In Tahiti. If I had to rate them, obviously these two here are absolutely the same, Island Sand and White Sand. My favorite would probably be Beachside. At this point, I think that's probably just because it's kind of rare and I miss burning it. If I had to choose, if I had unlimited supply of Beachside and White Sand may actually win out with Me In Tahiti, a not so distant third place. Still a nice scent, great candle. I'll burn through at least one of them this summer, but missing out on the sort of the tartness that you got from the White Sand and the Beachside. So I guess not much else to say there. I hope you've enjoyed sort of the history retrospect, digging into my Slatkin Co archives, if you will, for some of these older candles. If you have any other ideas for similar videos to this, checking out old test scents or comparing similar fragrances, as most of you know, I really don't do much in the way of other brands. I grab Yankee candles here and there, but not many at all. But if you can think of, if you want comparison videos between similar fragrances from Slatkin Co, Bath and Body Works, whether it's comparing a couple different kind of summer candles, things like that, please throw ideas in the comments here. I'd be happy to test them out, or rather check them out, record them, because we do have a little while to go still until we get a lot of new releases with the semi-annual sale and the fall test releases sometime in probably early July. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. Questions, hit me up, and until next time, take care.